The darkness of space lit up with 10,000 points of light. The Zetharian armada had arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system. Their massive warships hung in the void like predators circling prey. Each ship was larger than a human city, covered in weapons that could turn planets into dust. Admiral Kexthor stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest. His three eyes scanned the display screens showing the primitive blue planet far in the distance. This would be Conquest number 48, another star system for the glory of the Zetharian Empire. Status report, Kexthor commanded. His voice echoed through the bridge where hundreds of crew members worked at their stations. All ships in position, Admiral, his second-in-command replied. Weapons charged and ready. The target planet shows minimal defensive capabilities. We detected some satellites and a few space stations. Nothing that could threaten even one of our ships. Kexthor allowed himself a small smile. 300 years of conquest had taught the Zetharians one simple truth. Primitive worlds always fell quickly. They panicked. They begged. They surrendered. This world would be no different. Open a channel to the planet. All frequencies, Kexthor ordered. The communications officer worked quickly. Channel open, Admiral. Kexthor straightened his uniform and began the speech he had given 47 times before. Attention, inhabitants of the third planet. I am Admiral Kexthor of the Zetharian Empire. Your world is now part of our territory. You have 72 hours to surrender completely. Disarm all weapons. Prepare for occupation. If you comply, your species will be allowed to serve the Empire. If you resist, we will destroy your cities one by one until you beg for mercy. You cannot win. You cannot hide. Surrender or die. These are your only choices. The bridge fell silent. Everyone waited for the expected response. Crying, pleading, maybe some brave but foolish threats. Instead, a calm voice answered in perfect Zetharian language. Message received, Admiral Kexthor. We acknowledge your presence in our solar system. However, we must respectfully decline your offer. We suggest you turn your fleet around and leave peacefully. This is your first warning. The bridge erupted in laughter. Even Kexthor chuckled. The humans had suggested that they leave. These primitives who barely had spacecraft were telling the mighty Zetharian armada to go away. Replay that message, Kexthor said, still smiling. I want to hear it again. The calm human voice repeated the message. The laughter continued. How delightful, Kexthor said. They think they can warn us. How many times have we heard such brave words before? 17 times, Admiral, his intelligence officer replied. All 17 species were conquered within 1 week. Excellent. Send the standard response. The communications officer nodded and transmitted back. Your bravery is noted and will be remembered when your species is extinct. You have 72 hours. Another message came from Earth almost immediately. This time it was different. Instead of words, it was data. Massive amounts of information began flooding into the Zetharian computers. What is this? Kexthor demanded. The intelligence officer studied his screens, his expression confused. They are sending us their history, Admiral. Military history. Records of their wars. Their wars? With whom? Each other? Yes, Admiral. It appears humans have been fighting themselves for thousands of years. Kexthor laughed again. They fight each other? How primitive. How divided. This will be even easier than we thought. But the intelligence officer was not laughing. He was reading the data and his face was changing. His skin was turning pale, which for a Zetharian meant fear. Admiral, you need to see this. Kexthor walked over to the intelligence station. The screens showed images from human history. Battles, weapons, destruction on a scale that seemed impossible for such a young species. This cannot be accurate, Kexthor said. These readings must be wrong. I have verified them 3 times, Admiral. These images show human wars from their past. This one is from only 80 years ago. They call it World War II. Estimated deaths, 70 million humans. Kexthor stared at the number. 70 million? Of their own species? Yes, Admiral. And this was before they developed their most powerful weapons. More images appeared. Mushroom clouds rising over cities. The intelligence officer explained. They split the atom, Admiral. They learned to break apart the basic building blocks of matter and turn it into weapons. This bomb destroyed an entire city in 1 second. They used 2 of these weapons to end that war. 2? They only had 2? No, Admiral. These were the first 2. Now they have thousands. The laughter on the bridge had stopped. Everyone was watching the screens now. seeing the images of human warfare, trenches filled with bodies, cities burning, machines designed only to kill. Another message came from Earth. The same calm voice spoke. "We are sending you this information as a courtesy, Admiral Kexthor. We want you to understand who we are before you make your final decision. Humanity has spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of war. We have fought in every environment on our planet. We have created weapons that can end all life on Earth. We have nearly used them several times. We are showing you this not to boast but to warn you. Please leave peacefully. You have 72 hours. Kexthor turned away from the screens. This is a trick. Propaganda to make us afraid. Look at their technology. They barely have fusion power. Their ships are slow and weak. These images might be real, but their weapons cannot harm our fleet. Our shields are too strong. Our armor is too thick. Admiral, the intelligence officer said quietly, if they spent 10,000 years fighting each other, improving their weapons, learning to kill more efficiently, what happens when they point all that knowledge at us? Nothing, Kexthor snapped. Because they are primitives playing with fire, and we are an empire that has conquered 47 worlds. Maintain course. We advance in 12 hours. The crew returned to their stations, but the mood had changed. The laughter was gone. Some of the younger officers were still watching the screens, still looking at the images of human warfare. Kexthor returned to his command chair. He stared at the small blue planet on the main display. So far away, so fragile looking. But that voice had been so calm, so certain. Sir, the communications officer said, Earth is broadcasting something else. It appears to be entertainment. Movies, they call them. Fictional stories. Why would they send us their fiction? I do not know, sir. But many of them are about war, and about alien invasions, about humans fighting against impossible odds. Sir, in most of these stories, the humans win. Kexthor waved his hand dismissively. Fairy tales. Every species tells stories where they are the heroes. Ignore it, but he could not ignore it completely. He ordered his personal computer to show him one of these human movies. He watched for 30 minutes. The images showed humans refusing to give up even when their cities were burning. Humans fighting with primitive weapons against advanced technology. Humans sacrificing themselves for each other. At the end of the movie, the humans won. Kexthor turned off the display. It meant nothing. Fiction was fiction. Reality was reality. And the reality was that the Zetharian Empire had never lost a war. Begin the advance, he ordered. Slow speed. Let them see us coming. Let them fear us. The Armada began moving deeper into the solar system. 10,000 ships heading toward Earth. The greatest military force the Zetharians had ever assembled. On Earth, in a bunker deep underground, the Secretary General of the United Earth Defense Force watched the alien fleet on her own screens. They are not turning back, her military advisor said. No, she replied. They are not. Proceed to warning level 2. Show them we are serious. Yes, ma'am. Should we hope they listen? The Secretary General thought about the question. She thought about humanity's history. All the wars. All the weapons. All the times humans had been warned and had not listened themselves. Hope is good, she said finally, but we should prepare for them to be as stubborn as we are. 24 hours had passed since the Zetharian Armada entered the solar system. The massive fleet had crossed the orbit of Neptune and was now approaching Jupiter. Admiral Kexthor watched his screens with satisfaction. No resistance, no attacks, just empty space and distant planets. Perhaps they have seen reason, his second-in-command suggested. Perhaps they will surrender. Perhaps, Kexthor said, but he did not sound convinced. That calm human voice kept echoing in his memory. There had been no fear in it. No desperation. Just certainty. Admiral, we are receiving another transmission from Earth, the communications officer announced. Put it on speakers. The same calm voice filled the bridge. Admiral Kexthor, this is Earth Defense Command. You have ignored our first warning. We understand. Words are easy to ignore. We will now provide a demonstration of our defensive capabilities. Please do not interpret this as an attack. Consider it a second warning. We still hope you will choose to leave peacefully. Kexthor leaned forward in his chair. A demonstration? What can they possibly show us that would, Admiral, the tactical officer shouted. Multiple energy signatures throughout the solar system. I count. Hundreds of them. They are powering up simultaneously. What, where? Everywhere, sir. The asteroid belt, Jupiter's moons, Saturn's rings, even in the outer system. Objects we classified as mining stations and research outposts are showing massive power readings. On the main display, the tactical map lit up like a star field. Hundreds of red dots appeared surrounding the Zetharian fleet. Those were supposed to be civilian stations, the intelligence officer said, his voice shaking. Our scouts reported them as mining operations. Scientific research? Nothing military. Battle stations, Kexthor ordered. Shields to maximum. All weapons online? The bridge erupted into controlled chaos. Crew members rushed to their positions. Warning lights flashed red. The entire fleet went to combat readiness in seconds. Another message from Earth. Please remain calm, Admiral. We are not attacking. Watch! One of the red dots on the tactical display flared brightly. It was a station orbiting a large asteroid between Mars and Jupiter. Something launched from it. Projectile detected. The tactical officer called out. Tracking. Admiral, its velocity is impossible. What do you mean impossible? Sir, it is traveling at 0.3 light speed. That is 30% the speed of light. The bridge fell silent. 0.3 light speed. The Zetharian's best missiles could reach 0.1 light speed. This object was 3 times faster. Impact trajectory? Kexthor demanded. The tactical officer studied his screens. His hands were shaking. Sir, it is heading directly toward the fleet. Straight through our formation. Evasive action. Move the fleet. Sir, there is no time. Impact in 3, 2, 1. Everyone on the bridge braced for impact. For the explosion. For the shields to fail and the hull to tear apart, nothing happened. Status, Kexthor shouted. No impact, Admiral. The projectile passed between our ships. It threaded through the formation without touching a single vessel. It missed the closest ship by less than 100 meters. Kexthor stared at the tactical display. The projectile had traveled through his fleet at 0.3 light speed and had not hit anything. It had been aimed to miss deliberately. Perfect precision at impossible speeds. Electromagnetic readings across the fleet, another officer reported. The projectile's passage created a massive EM pulse. All ships reporting minor system disruptions. Nothing serious, but our sensors were scrambled for several seconds. The human voice spoke again. That was a tungsten rod, Admiral. 1 meter long, 20 centimeters wide. Just a simple piece of metal. Accelerated to 0.3 light speed using our railgun technology. We hit exactly what we aimed for, which was the empty space between your ships. Imagine if we had aimed at your ships instead. Kexthor felt something he had not felt in decades, fear. A simple metal rod moving that fast would punch through any shield, would tear through any armor, would destroy any ship. And the humans had hundreds of these stations. How many? He asked quietly. Sir? His intelligence officer replied. How many of those stations do they have? We are detecting 342 installations, Admiral. All of them showing similar power signatures. All of them now online and tracking our fleet. 342 railgun stations. Each one capable of throwing metal at 0.3 light speed. Each one with perfect accuracy. Sir, we are receiving more data from Earth, the communications officer said. They are transmitting their historical records again. I do not want to see more of their primitive wars, Kexthor snapped. Sir, this is different. These are records of their nuclear weapons tests. Despite himself, Kexthor looked at the screen. He watched as humans detonated bombs that created miniature suns on their own planet. He saw the mushroom clouds, the destruction, the raw power. The human voice continued. We tested nuclear weapons over 2,000 times on our own planet, Admiral. We perfected them. Then we created hydrogen bombs, which were even more powerful. Then we created antimatter weapons. We have weapons that can crack continents. We have weapons that can boil oceans. We have enough firepower to destroy Earth 100 times over. Then why have you not used them? Kexthor found himself asking. Because we realize something important, Admiral. The ability to destroy everything means nothing if you destroy yourself in the process. We learned restraint. We learned that having ultimate power means knowing when not to use it. We are showing you these weapons not because we want to use them. We are showing you because we want you to understand that we can use them if we must. More images appeared on the screens. Human soldiers in combat, not the ancient wars from the first transmission, but modern human military forces. They wore advanced armor. They carried weapons that looked simple but effective. They moved with precision and discipline. These are our soldiers, Admiral. Volunteers who chose to fight. They trained for years. They learned to survive in any environment. Underwater, underground, in space, in Arctic cold and desert heat. They learned to fight when outnumbered, when outgunned. When there is no hope of victory, they learned to never surrender. Kexthor watched a video of human soldiers defending a position against overwhelming odds. They kept fighting even when wounded. Even when their weapons ran out, they fought with knives in their bare hands. We have 3 billion soldiers, Admiral. Not conscripts. Not slaves forced to fight. Volunteers, people who chose to defend their world. Behind them are 7 billion more humans who will fight if needed. Every human on Earth knows how to survive, how to resist, how to fight. The intelligence officer was reading through more data. Admiral, their history shows that humans have never been successfully conquered. Every invasion of human territory eventually failed. The invaders either retreated or were destroyed. Lies, Kexthor said, but his voice lacked confidence. Sir, their records show multiple examples, larger armies invading smaller human nations. The larger armies had better weapons, more soldiers, more resources. But the humans refused to surrender. They used guerrilla warfare, sabotage, attrition. They made conquest too expensive, too painful. Eventually, the invaders gave up. The human voice spoke one final time. Admiral Kexthor, we have now given you 2 warnings. We have shown you our history and our capabilities. We do not want war. War is wasteful. War means death for your soldiers and ours. We gain nothing from killing you, and you gain nothing from attacking us. But if you continue toward Earth, you will force us to defend ourselves. You have 48 hours remaining. Please use that time to reconsider. Turn your fleet around. Leave in peace. There is no shame in avoiding a war that benefits no one. The transmission ended. Kexthor sat in his command chair thinking. Around him, the bridge was quiet. The crew members were looking at each other nervously. They had all seen the demonstrations. They had all read the data. Sir, what are your orders? His second-in-command asked. Kexthor thought about the Empire, about his duty, about the 47 conquests, about his reputation as an admiral who never retreated. Then he thought about those metal rods traveling at 0.3 light speed, about the nuclear weapons, about the 3 billion soldiers who chose to fight, about the calm certainty in that human voice. We continue, he said finally, but we advance slowly. Very slowly, and we send all of this data back to High Command. Let them see what we have seen. Let them decide if conquest is worth the cost. Yes, Admiral. The fleet continued forward, but the mood had changed completely. No one was laughing anymore. No one was confident. The crew members performed their duties, but they kept glancing at the tactical displays, watching those hundreds of red dots that represented human weapons stations. On Earth, the Secretary General received the report that the alien fleet was still advancing. They have seen our capabilities, she said. They know what we can do. And they are still coming. Perhaps they are too proud to retreat, her advisor suggested. Or perhaps they think we are bluffing, that we will not actually fire, will we? The Secretary General looked at the displays showing her own planet. She thought about the billions of people living their lives down there. People who were counting on her to protect them. If they force us to, she said quietly, we will give them one more warning. One more chance. After that, she did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. Everyone in the room understood. After that, the 48 hours after entering the solar system, the Zetharian Armada reached Mars' orbit. The red planet hung in the void, silent and empty. Beyond it, just 8 light minutes away, was Earth. The blue jewel that had defied them twice. Admiral Kexthor had not slept. He had spent the entire time reviewing the data Earth had sent. The demonstrations, the history, the weapons. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that metal rod threading through his fleet at impossible speeds. Status of High Command's response? He asked. They acknowledge receipt of our reports, Admiral, his communications officer replied. Their orders remain unchanged. We are to proceed with the invasion. Of course they did, Kexthor thought bitterly. High Command was light years away, safe in their council chambers. They were not here, looking at those hundreds of weapons platforms. They were not the ones who would die if this went wrong. Sir, our scouts are requesting permission to attempt infiltration of human communication networks, his intelligence officer said. If we can access their systems, we might learn their true capabilities. See if they are bluffing about their strength. Kexthor considered this. It was a risk. The humans might detect the intrusion, but knowledge was power, and right now he needed to know exactly what he was facing. Permission granted. But be careful. Do not let them trace it back to us. Yes, Admiral. The intelligence team went to work. Zetharian technology was advanced, and their computer specialists were the best in the Empire. Surely they could slip past the defenses of these primitive humans. It took them 6 hours. 6 hours of careful probing, looking for weaknesses in human networks. When they finally broke through, the intelligence officer called for the Admiral immediately. Sir, we are in. We have access to their global network. They call it the Internet. What have you found? Everything, Admiral. Everything. They have stored their entire civilization on this network. History, science, culture, entertainment, military data. Everything is here. Show me their military capabilities. The intelligence officer hesitated. Sir, perhaps you should see their culture first. I think it is important to understand how they think. I do not care about their culture. Show me their weapons. Yes, Admiral. The screens filled with data, military bases, weapon specifications, troop numbers. But as Kexthor read, his confidence began to crumble. These numbers cannot be correct, he said. You are telling me they have 12,000 nuclear warheads? Yes, Admiral. And that is down from their peak. At one point they had over 60,000. 60,000 weapons that can destroy cities? Why would any species need so many? Because they aimed them at each other, Admiral. Kexthor stared at the intelligence officer. Explain. During a period they call the Cold War, the humans divided into 2 major factions. Each faction built thousands of nuclear weapons. They pointed them at each other's cities, at each other's military bases. They created something they called mutually assured destruction. If one side attacked, both sides would be annihilated. And they lived like this, with weapons aimed at their own species? For 50 years, Admiral. An entire generation grew up knowing that nuclear war could start at any moment. They practiced hiding under desks at school. They built fallout shelters in their basements. They made plans for surviving the end of the world. Kexthor felt sick. What kind of species lived with that kind of fear? And more importantly, what kind of species survived it? Sir, there is more, much more. You need to see their entertainment. Why would I care about their stories and games? Because, Admiral, their entertainment reveals how they think, how they see the universe, how they imagine threats. The screens changed. Now they showed images from human movies and books and games. The intelligence officer had compiled a list of the most popular ones. The titles alone were disturbing. Independence Day, War of the Worlds, Ender's Game, Halo, Starship Troopers, Edge of Tomorrow. What are these? Kexthor asked. These are stories about aliens invading Earth, Admiral. Humans have created thousands of such stories. In most of them, the aliens are more advanced, more powerful, better armed. The humans are outmatched and outgunned. Then the aliens win? No, Admiral. In almost every story, the humans win. They study the aliens. They find weaknesses. They use guerrilla tactics. They refuse to surrender even when their cities are burning. They sacrifice themselves for each other. They never give up. Kexthor watched clips from these stories. He saw human soldiers fighting against impossible odds. He saw scientists frantically working to find alien weaknesses. He saw ordinary civilians taking up arms to defend their homes. In every story, no matter how dark it got, the humans kept fighting. These are just fiction, Kexthor said. Fantasy, yes, Admiral. But consider what it means. Humans spend their free time imagining alien invasions. They have thought about this scenario thousands of times. They have imagined every possible way an invasion could happen. Every possible alien weapon, every possible strategy, and they have imagined ways to win against all of them. Sir, another intelligence officer interrupted, I have been analyzing their scientific data. The humans have been studying warfare for their entire history. They have universities dedicated to military strategy. They have think tanks that imagine future conflicts. They run simulations of battles constantly. They analyze every war they have ever fought to learn from their mistakes. All species study warfare, Kexthor argued. Not like this, Admiral. The humans have refined it to a science. They have doctrines for every situation. Combined arms tactics, air superiority, naval blockades, infantry assaults, orbital strikes. They have even created theories for fighting enemies they have never met. They call it asymmetric warfare. The idea is that a weaker force can defeat a stronger one through unconventional tactics. More data appeared on the screens. Human military academies, strategy textbooks, historical analyses of battles going back thousands of years. "Sir, look at this," the intelligence officer said, pulling up a human text. "This is from a human strategist named Sun Tzu. He lived over 2,000 years ago. His teachings are still used by human militaries today." Kexthor read the ancient words. "All warfare is based on deception. Appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting." "They have been thinking about war for 2,000 years, Kexthor whispered. "Longer, Admiral. Much longer. We found records of warfare going back 10,000 years, constantly improving, constantly evolving. Every generation learning from the previous one. Every war making them better at killing." The intelligence officer pulled up more data. "Human biology. Admiral, you need to understand what humans are physically. They evolved as persistence hunters. They would chase prey for hours, sometimes days, until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. They can run farther than almost any other Earth creature. They can survive in almost any climate. They can heal from terrible injuries. They can function with minimal sleep and food. They are endurance predators," Kexthor said quietly. "Yes, Admiral, and they apply that same persistence to warfare. Look at their history. Look at how many wars lasted years or even decades. They do not give up. They do not surrender. They just keep fighting until they win or until they are completely destroyed." Another officer spoke up. "Admiral, I found something disturbing in their network. They have a large section dedicated to what they call video games, simulated battles for entertainment." "Entertainment?" "Yes, sir. Millions of humans, including children, play these games. They practice tactical thinking. They practice aiming weapons. They practice working in teams. They practice killing, even if it is just simulation. Their entire population is training for war without even realizing it." Kexthor felt a chill run down his spine. An entire civilization that practiced warfare as entertainment. Children who grew up learning to think tactically. A species that had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of killing. "Sir, there is one more thing you must see," the intelligence officer said quietly. "I found classified human military documents. They're actual defense plans for an alien invasion." "Show me." The screens displayed document after document. Detailed plans for defending Earth, strategies for fighting in space, protocols for evacuating cities, contingency plans for losing entire continents. And at the end, the most chilling document of all. Final option protocols. "What is this?" Kexthor asked. "It is their plan if they are losing, Admiral. If the invasion cannot be stopped conventionally, it details the use of their entire nuclear arsenal. They will detonate nuclear weapons in their own atmosphere. They will contaminate their own planet with radiation. They will use biological weapons, chemical weapons, weapons we have never even imagined." The document states, "If Earth falls, we will make certain the enemy gains only a radioactive graveyard. We will deny them victory through scorched earth. Humanity will survive in bunkers and colonies, and we will spend generations making the invaders pay for every inch of our world." The bridge was silent. Everyone had been listening. Everyone had been reading the data. They all understood what 12 hours remained until the deadline. The Zetharian armada had entered Earth's orbital space, hanging like a storm cloud above the blue planet. 10,000 warships, their weapons charged, their shields at maximum. They had crossed the line. They were in striking distance. Admiral Kexthor stood on his bridge staring at Earth below. From this distance he could see the continents, the oceans, the thin layer of atmosphere that protected all life on that world. It looked so fragile, so vulnerable, but he knew better now. He had seen what lay beneath that fragile appearance. He had read their history. He had seen their weapons. He understood what kind of species lived on that planet. "Status of High Command's response to our request for reinforcements?" he asked. His communications officer shook his head. "No response yet, Admiral. The message will not reach them for several more days, and their reply will take just as long." Of course. They were alone out here. Whatever happened next, Kexthor and his fleet would face it without help. "Admiral, we are receiving another transmission from Earth," the communications officer announced. "It is marked as urgent. Maximum priority. Put it on screen." The image that appeared was different from the previous transmissions. This time a human appeared in person. an older male with gray hair and hard eyes. He wore a military uniform covered in medals and insignia. Behind him, Kexthor could see a command center filled with officers and display screens. Admiral Kexthor, I am General Marcus Chen, Supreme Commander of the United Earth Defense Force. I am speaking to you now as a soldier to a soldier. What I am about to say is not a request. It is not a negotiation. It is a promise. The general's voice was calm, but there was steel in it. The voice of someone who had seen war and was not afraid of it. You have ignored 3 warnings. You have continued your advance despite everything we have shown you. We have been patient. We have given you every opportunity to leave with honor. But you have entered our orbital space. You have pointed your weapons at our world. There is only one way we can interpret that. You intend to attack. Therefore, this is your final warning. Not your 4th warning. Your final one. You have 1 hour to begin your retreat. 60 minutes. After that hour expires, if your fleet is still in Earth's orbital space, we will consider it an act of war, and we will respond accordingly. The camera pulled back, showing more of the command center. Humans worked at hundreds of stations. Tactical displays showed troop positions, naval fleets, air forces, orbital platforms. Let me show you what you are facing, Admiral. Not simulations. Not history. What is happening right now at this very moment? The screen split into multiple images. Kexthor saw military bases across Earth coming online, missile silos opening, ships leaving port, aircraft launching, soldiers mobilizing. It was happening everywhere all at once with perfect coordination. Every military installation on Earth is now at full combat readiness. Every soldier is at their post. Every weapon is armed. Every ship is crewed. Every aircraft is fueled and ready. We have mobilized completely. Another set of images appeared. The moon. Kexthor could see the surface lighting up with power signatures. Doors opening in the lunar regolith. Weapons emerging, the moon, Admiral. We built defensive installations there 50 years ago. You are looking at 3,000 weapons platforms, railguns, missile batteries, laser arrays. All of them are tracking your fleet right now. All of them have firing solutions locked in. More images. The orbital space around Earth was filled with satellites. But these were not communications satellites or weather monitors. These were weapons platforms hidden in plain sight. 4,000 orbital defense platforms, each one carrying nuclear-tipped missiles, each one capable of independent operation. Even if you destroy our command centers, these platforms will continue fighting. They are automated, relentless, and they never miss. The general's face reappeared on the screen. But you knew about our weapons, Admiral. We showed you those in our previous warnings. So let me tell you what you do not know, what we have not shown you until now. The image changed to show something new. Massive ships in orbit on the far side of the moon. Ships that looked different from the primitive human spacecraft the Zetharians had seen before. These ships looked sleek, dangerous, built for war. These are our warships, Admiral. We call them dreadnoughts. We have been building them in secret for 30 years, ever since we discovered we were not alone in the universe. We have 40 of them. Each one is powered by fusion reactors. Each one carries enough firepower to level a continent. We kept them hidden because we hoped we would never need them. But we built them because we are not naive. Kexthor felt his blood turn cold. 40 warships. True warships designed for space combat. Why had his scouts not detected them? As if reading his mind, the general continued. You did not see them because we hid them on the far side of the moon. We used stealth technology. We made them invisible to your sensors. We let you think we were defenseless. We wanted you to underestimate us. Sun Tzu taught us appear weak when you are strong. The Zetharian bridge was silent. Everyone was staring at the screens, at these hidden warships that should not exist. But ships and weapons are just tools, Admiral. The real question is who wields them. Let me tell you about the humans who will fight you. The screen showed images of training facilities. Soldiers practicing in harsh environments, pilots flying combat simulations, naval crews running battle drills. We have 3 billion active military personnel, another 4 billion in reserves. These are not conscripts dragged from their homes. These are volunteers, people who chose to defend their world. They trained for years. They learned to fight in every environment. They learned to never surrender. More images, underground bunkers, submarine bases, hidden facilities carved into mountains. We have prepared for the worst-case scenario, Admiral. If you attack, you might destroy our surface cities. You might kill millions or even billions of us. But you will not kill us all. We have bunkers that can survive nuclear strikes. We have underground cities that can function for decades. We have seed vaults and data archives and everything we need to rebuild. Even if you reduce Earth to ash, humans will survive. And we will remember. And we will hunt you across the stars until we have our revenge. The general leaned forward, his eyes boring into the camera. You need to understand something about humans, Admiral. We do not forgive attacks on our home. Pearl Harbor was attacked 84 years ago, and we still remember. September 11th was 124 years ago, and we still remember. Humans remember every attack, every invasion, every threat. We remember for generations. If you attack Earth, you will start a war that will not end until either your species or ours is extinct. The screen changed again, showing Earth from orbit. The beautiful blue planet. The clouds swirling. The lights of cities visible on the night side. Look at our world, Admiral. 3 billion soldiers are just the beginning. Behind them are 7 billion more humans. Scientists, engineers, doctors, teachers, farmers, factory workers. Every one of them will contribute to the war effort. We will turn our entire civilization into a war machine. We will sacrifice everything for survival. We have the capacity to produce 1 million missiles per month. We can build 10,000 combat aircraft per year. We can train 1 million new soldiers every quarter. Our industrial capacity is beyond anything you have seen. Because we built it to support 10 billion people, now we will use it to support one purpose, destroying you. The general's expression softened slightly. But it does not have to be this way, Admiral. You can still choose peace. You can turn your fleet around right now and leave. No shots fired. No lives lost. You can report to your high command that Earth is too well defended, that the cost of conquest is too high. There is no shame in that. It is simply a tactical decision. But if you stay, if you are still here when the hour ends, then we will show you what humans are capable of when we fight for our survival. We will show you why, in 10,000 years of warfare, no one has ever successfully conquered us. We will show you that we are not prey. We are the apex predators of our world, and you have made the mistake of threatening our den. The general stood up. Behind him, every officer in the command center stood as well. They all faced the camera. They all saluted. 1 hour, Admiral Kexthor. Make your choice. Leave in peace or stay and learn why humans are the most dangerous species in this sector of space. The transmission ended. The bridge of the Eternal Conquest was absolutely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. They had all seen it. 40 hidden warships, 7,000 weapons platforms on the moon and in orbit, 3 billion soldiers, an entire civilization mobilized for war. Kexthor's second-in-command finally broke the silence. Admiral, they were not bluffing. No, Kexthor said quietly. They were not. What are your orders, sir? Kexthor thought about the Empire. About duty and honor. About the 47 worlds they had conquered. About his reputation. Then he thought about those 40 warships. About the weapons aimed at his fleet. About the humans who had spent 10,000 years learning to kill. About that general's promise. A war that would not end until one species was extinct. Scan those ships, he ordered. The ones they call dreadnoughts. I want to know their true capabilities. The science officer worked for several minutes. When he looked up, his face was pale. Admiral, their power readings are off. 30 seconds remained until the deadline. Admiral Kexthor stood on his bridge watching the countdown on his display. Around him, his entire crew waited in silence. 10,000 ships hung in Earth's orbital space, weapons armed, shields active. Below them, the blue planet waited. Kexthor had spent the last hour thinking. He had reviewed every piece of data. He had consulted with his senior officers. He had run simulations of the battle that would occur if they attacked. Every simulation ended the same way. The Zetharian fleet would be destroyed. Oh, they would inflict damage. They would destroy some of Earth's cities. They would kill millions, perhaps billions of humans. But those 40 dreadnoughts with their antimatter weapons would tear through his fleet like knives through cloth. The 7,000 orbital and lunar platforms would fill space with so much fire that nothing could survive. And the 3 billion soldiers would make any ground invasion a nightmare that could last decades. The Zetharians would lose. It was that simple. 20 seconds, Admiral, his tactical officer said quietly. Kexthor looked at the faces of his crew. He had served with many of them for years. He knew their names, their families, their hopes and dreams. If he gave the order to attack, most of them would die within the first hour of battle. For what? For the pride of the Empire. For his own reputation? 10 seconds. He thought about the 47 worlds the Zetharians had conquered. How many of them had been like Earth? How many had been primitive worlds that could not defend themselves? The Zetharians had built their empire on picking fights they could win easily. But Earth was different. Earth had teeth. Earth had claws. Earth was a predator world. 5 seconds. Kexthor made his decision. All ships, he announced, his voice carrying across the fleet's communication network. Power down weapons. Shields to standby. Helm, plot a course out of the solar system. We are withdrawing. The bridge erupted in activity. Orders were transmitted. Ships began powering down their weapons systems. The fleet started to move slowly at first, then faster. Admiral? His second-in-command asked. High Command's orders were to proceed. High Command is not here, Kexthor replied. High Command did not see what we saw. They did not learn what we learned. I will face the consequences of this decision, but I will not order this fleet to commit suicide. He opened a channel to Earth. General Chen, this is Admiral Kexthor. We are withdrawing from Earth's orbital space. We will leave your solar system. We accept your terms. There was a pause. Then the general's face appeared on the screen. The old soldier studied Kexthor for a long moment. That was a wise decision, Admiral, General Chen said. Truly, there are no winners in the war we almost fought. Only survivors and corpses. I need to understand something, Kexthor said. Why did you give us warnings? Why did you show us your capabilities? Most species would have hidden their strength and used it as a surprise. The general smiled slightly. Because we did not want to fight you, Admiral. We never wanted this war. We showed you our strength because we hoped you would be smart enough to recognize it and leave. We gave you warnings because we wanted to give you a way out with your honor intact. Honor? After we invaded your system? You are a soldier following orders, Admiral. Just as I am. You came here believing you would face a primitive world. Now you know better. That is not your fault. That is the fault of whoever sent you here without proper intelligence. Kexthor felt something he had not expected. Respect. This human general understood the reality of command, the burden of making decisions, the responsibility for the lives of those under your command. I have a question for you, General, Kexthor said. Those dreadnoughts, the antimatter weapons, the hidden installations, did you build all of that specifically to defend against invasion? We built them to defend against anything, Admiral. Invasion, asteroid impacts, solar flares, gamma-ray bursts, hostile aliens. We learned long ago that the universe is dangerous. We decided to be ready for anything. And if we had not withdrawn? If we had attacked? The general's expression hardened. Then we would have shown you that every single thing I said in my transmission was true. Every promise, every threat, every consequence. We would have fought with everything we had. And even if you had won, even if you had taken Earth, the cost would have broken your empire. Kexthor believed him. He could see it in the general's eyes. This was not bravado or bluffing. This was simple truth. Admiral, his intelligence officer interrupted. I am detecting something. One of those dreadnoughts is moving. It is taking up position between us and Earth. On the screen, Kexthor could see one of the massive human warships moving gracefully through space. It was smaller than his flagship, but something about it radiated danger. It positioned itself directly in the path the Zetharian fleet would take to leave the solar system. General? Kexthor asked, tension creeping into his voice. Relax, Admiral, the general said. The UES Defiant is just escorting you out of our space, making sure you do not change your mind. Think of it as a courtesy. A courtesy with antimatter weapons, Kexthor thought, but he understood. The humans were not taking any chances. They would watch the Zetharian fleet until it left their solar system completely. We will not change our mind, Kexthor said. You have my word as an officer. Good. Then you should have no problem with an escort. The Zetharian fleet began its long journey out of the solar system. The UES Defiant followed at a respectful distance, its weapons systems clearly active. It was a reminder. A warning. Do not come back. As they passed Mars, Kexthor's intelligence officer approached him with a tablet. Sir, I have been compiling a full report on everything we learned about humanity. You need to read this. Kexthor took the tablet and began reading. What he saw disturbed him even more than the weapons had. They were only months away from launching their first interstellar colony ship? He asked. Yes, Admiral. We did not interrupt humanity's space age. We interrupted humanity's expansion into the galaxy. In another year, maybe two, humans would have been spreading to other star systems. Kexthor felt a chill run through him. If the Zetharians had waited just a little longer, they would have encountered humans in space. Human colonies on other worlds, human ships traveling between the stars. Instead of one planet to conquer, there would have been dozens, maybe hundreds. There is more, sir, the intelligence officer continued. I analyzed human technological development. Their rate of advancement is exponential. They went from basic spaceflight to orbital defense platforms in 70 years. They went from splitting the atom to antimatter weapons in 80 years. If we return in 50 years, they will be even more advanced. If we return in 100 years, they might be more advanced than us. Then we will never return, Kexthor said firmly. He opened a channel to his entire fleet, all 10,000 ships. Every captain, every officer, every crew member needed to hear this. This is Admiral Kexthor. I am sending a message to all ships to be transmitted back to High Command. This message will contain everything we have learned about humanity, their history, their weapons, their capabilities, and it will contain my strongest recommendation. Earth must be marked as a forbidden system. We must never return here. He paused, choosing his words carefully. We came here believing we would conquer another primitive world. But Earth is not primitive. Humanity is not weak. They are a young species, yes. But they are also the most dangerous species we have ever encountered. They have spent their entire existence learning to survive, learning to fight, learning to win against impossible odds. They gave us every opportunity to leave peacefully. They showed us their strength. They warned us repeatedly, and when we did not listen, they prepared to destroy us utterly. That is not weakness. That is confidence. That is the behavior of a species that knows exactly what it is capable of. I have led this fleet for 20 years. I have conquered 6 worlds. I have never retreated from a battle. But I am retreating today because I understand the difference between bravery and stupidity. Attacking Earth would have been suicide. Nothing more. He looked at the blue planet shrinking on his display. Humanity is not prey. They are predators. They are survivors. And someday they will leave their world and spread across the stars. When that day comes, we must be ready, not to fight them, but to negotiate with them, to trade with them, to treat them as equals. Because if we make enemies of humanity, we will regret it for generations to come. The fleet continued its journey. Past Jupiter, past Saturn, past Uranus and Neptune, the UES Defiant followed them all the way to the edge of the solar system. Only when the Zetharian fleet prepared to jump to FTL did the human warship stop following. Kexthor received one final transmission from Earth. It was General Chen again. Admiral, before you go, I want you to know something. We did not enjoy threatening you. We do not enjoy war. We showed you our weapons because we wanted you to understand the consequences of attacking us. But we showed you our civilization because we wanted you to see that we are more than just soldiers and weapons. Humanity is scientists and artists, musicians and teachers, explorers and dreamers. We have created beautiful things. We have written poetry and composed